Before we go today, I want to leave you with a couple tips here on practicing, for hunting. Sometimes we kind of get in a rut while we practice. We do the same thing over and over again, and I just want to go over several bullet points here to kind of get you going back in the right track. First of all, you have to know your distance, and when you're sighting in your bow, use your rangefinder to sight in your bow. It's pretty common sense there. You want your rangefinder yardage to match exactly how your sight pins are set. That's what you'll be using, in the field. You use your rangefinder in the field. Rangefinder yardage has to match how your sight pins are set up. If you don't have a rangefinder, learn how to accurately pace off your yardage. Don't guess and don't rely on a hunting buddy to tell you how far something is. This next bullet point here, on a whitetail hunting setup, start out by setting your first pin dead on at 20 yards. Why do you say 20? Well, 20 yards is easy to remember. Next, you want to see how far that 20-yard pin will take you. While aiming dead on at 20 yards, step back to 21, 22, 23, 24 yards, and you want to see where your arrow starts to drop off. What you're trying to do here is you want to know your maximum limit for your first sight pin. Most hunting setups, it'll get you out to at least 25 yards, maybe more. Next, sight in your second pin at 30 yards. Once again, 30 yards is easy to remember. The tip here is that you want to know the in-between yardages of your setup. If a buck is standing out there at 26, maybe 27 yards, what sight pin do you use? You need to practice at those in-between distances. Don't assume that you might raise your first pin or lower your second pin when a deer is standing at these odd distances. Know exactly how low or how high your arrow will hit. I've heard it 1,000 times. Bow hunters use the excuse that when they miss, they use the wrong pin. We sometimes get in the habit of only practicing at even distances, 20, 30, and 40 yards. You need to practice at those odd distances. Also, don't forget to practice at close distances. We need to know where our arrows hit at 5, 6, and 7 yards. Sometimes we might have those up-close skillet shots and we miss them simply because we hadn't practiced up close. Another good tip here on practicing is after you know the distances around your stand, maybe you know how far it is to that trail, to that scrape, or maybe to that fence crossing, practice at those distances. Your confidence level will be sky high when you take that shot. We've got about 60 seconds left here in the show. So far today, we showed you 2 hunts with really good shot placement. You can tell that those guys practice and it pays off. Doc Spike, he gave us a good tip. I gave you several really good tips. The bottom line is that we want the best overall performance that we can get out of our bows. Now, let's check in with Brother Mark. He's going to tell us how to get that same performance out of life.
The Moment of Truth with Pastor Mark Johns.
There are few things as rewarding as a well-tuned bow. Likewise, there can be few things as frustrating as trying to get your bow to perform at an optimum level and not know really what's wrong. Sometimes it takes the expertise of a pro shop to get everything just right. I run into people as a pastor all the time who always talk to me about why they're not getting better performance out of life. They really wish that their arrow would fly straight, so to speak, that they would get better performance out of their life. They wonder why things aren't working out, and they've tried everything. Sometimes you got to defer to somebody who really knows what they're doing. The Bible says that when you go to God, that God created life and He knows how it best works. And when you allow Him to fine-tune your life with His purpose and His will, you start seeing very, very different results. If you'd like to know more about God and a personal relationship with Him through His Son, Jesus Christ, go to closingthedistance.com and just click on the Moment of Truth tab.